Craig Stammen is the next manager of the San Diego Padres. 41 years old, spent the last 6 seasons of his big league career, a long one, as a reliever with the Padres. And this one comes out of left field, 3-year contract with Stammen and the Padres. He's been working for the team since he retired. So 2023, 24, and 25 as a special assistant to the general manager. And he worked a little bit with the major league team, a little bit with the minor league team. What do we think about this? Then we'll get to the Pujols and anyone else that was in the running factor. But what do we think about Craig Stammen, a young Craig Stammen, taking over in a big-time role like this with some big personalities and a team that is expecting to be in their winning window still?
This is the new way. This is, they say in The Mandalorian, another Disney reference, this is the way. You get into an organization and you become a special assistant to the manager, the GM, the owner. And then when they have a job opening, they hire you because they already know you and you've already told them all your ideas. And they're like, I like his idea. And and then they can say, oh, well, I've heard him talk about this. I like that idea, or I like this, or I like that. And then this is kind of the way. And then also they say, oh, wait, I already know him, so I can tell him what to do. We have the same ideas on everything. And then we do, this and that. So, I hope it works for the Padres. We'll see. But I don't know. Craig Stammen has always come across as a smart guy and a nice guy, but we'll see. He's been there for a couple of years now, so they know him better than we do. But good luck.
Everybody I know that played with him says, incredible dude. My biggest hang-up anytime a pitcher gets a managerial job, it is hard to probably one of the biggest things of managing a team is how you manage your bullpen. So he knows that part of it. He knows when guys lie, when guys don't lie, how far to push some guys, how far he could be pushed. So I think he's got great insight on that, great experience on that. But how much does he know the other ins and outs of being in the dugout? I'm not talking about X's and O's of baseball. I think you can learn that at the bench coach that does all that. But how much does he know the ins and outs of pushing a Manny Machado, pushing a Xander Bogaerts, pulling back the reins on a Fernando Tatis? Like, that's the kind of stuff that he's going to have to navigate. That I think sometimes pitchers don't always have the experience, the insight. He's been in the organization, so he knows how the organization works. Great dude. Sounds like he's an incredible people person. But to make a political reference, back when George Bush was finding a vice president, he hired Dick Cheney to be his vice president after he had hired Dick Cheney to be the person to go find him his vice president. So is this what happened with Craig Stammen? Craig Stammen was in on all the managerial meetings, and he's like, pretty good. It's pretty good. And he just took everybody's ideas, and he's like, I'll be the manager.
I don't know. Again, this is another fascinating hire because who's his coach is going to be? That's what this all comes down to with Vitello, Butera, and now Stammen. All these guys that really have no experience ever being in the dugout of a major. Not that Stammen hasn't been in the dugout, but like running a team, not a coach. Who are they hired to help them? That's the biggest. That's what I want to see. Like, what's their network like, and who can they bring in that they trust to help them run the bullpen? I know Niebla is probably going to stay there, so I'm assuming Stammen's just going to be like, Ruben, you run the pitching staff, and I'll just take care of the other side of it. But who's going to be their bench coach? Who's going to be this guy? Who's going to be that guy? That's the things to me that are fascinating about these hires. Is can it work? Absolutely. But they've also never had to make decisions. Do I bring in a pitcher? Do I pinch hit? Do I do this? Do I do that? How do we do this? There's a million things that happen so fast. And I think every manager you talk to that does this for the first time is amazed by how fast the game actually goes when you're sitting in that seat. And you better have somebody sitting next to you that, one, you can trust, you can have arguments with and get over it, and also know that they have your best interest and also the team's best interest in mind. Because, Kratz, I'm sure you played on teams, and I've been around it, where coaches don't always mingle because sometimes guys have different motives and, because they're like, oh, maybe if he gets fired, I can slide into that job, right? There's always ulterior motives, and that's the thing that's fascinating is how do you find the right guy to be by your side through thick and thin?
Maybe Craig has somebody like that. Maybe
again, I don't know.
I don't know, but I know Ryan Flaherty was on that staff. I'm not sure his status now, but he's been interviewing for some jobs. Ruben Niebla, I think, was actually in the running for this job. So do you bring two coaches back that didn't get the job that they wanted, and now they're just being on your staff instead of being the head honcho? I saw one time we had a bench coach, and I won't, because I'm not going to throw – I'd love to throw the one person under the bus, but I'm not going to throw the other guys under the bus. The bench coach, and then there was like a big league coach on this team that the manager would look past the bench coach. They would all stand, all three, right on the rail and look past the bench coach for the other guy's opinion on subjects. And the bench coach, incredible, very talented, knew the game, all that stuff, and he just had to stand there and just it was so awkward. It changed the next year, but it was so awkward to see him always like, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this? And the bench coach was like, and anytime he spoke up, it was bad news. But it's so awkward. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
How do you think a recently retired player will do who has spent time now in the front office and I would assume is on the same page as AJ Preller with this particular ball club? This is a team that expects to keep winning. It is a party. It is an awesome scene. We've talked about this in San Diego. They fill that place up. The fan base is rabid and they want more winning. I don't know what they'll do this off season yet. I don't think they're going to spend like crazy, AJ, but this is the type of team in my mind that has some veterans who are strong personalities. And I don't want to say necessarily had a say in this, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were conversations. Manny Machado has been there for a long time. He really likes to be involved with the leadership portion of a team. I'm assuming that he gave 2 thumbs up on this one.
Yeah, he would have to.
Mm-hmm.
He would have to. Now, did he play with Stammen there as a player when Manny got there, or was he already gone?
I'll check that while you're talking about it.
Because, yeah, listen, there's probably 2 people on this team you really need to get. Well, there's probably 3, actually. Manny,
yes, he did.
Fernando, and I would have said Yu Darvish, but Yu Darvish is out for 26. So I would have said those are probably the 3 people you would have. They did play together.
They crossed.
Okay, so they know each other, so they have a relationship prior to this. So I think that. Yeah, I think they definitely had to ask probably those 3 guys before they made this hire. Because Manny has a lot of pull. He had a lot of pull, especially when Peter's side that was alive. He had a lot of pull. You could go to the owner and just get anything done. So I like the fact that they probably involved players. We don't know that for sure, but it just sure seems like it was part of it.
Okay. Good luck to Craig. We'll learn more about how that all went down. Next layer for the last couple minutes. Albert Pujols will be shut out from a manager role. There were a ton of openings. The only one left is the Rockies. As Ken said on Fair Territory, he does not want that. I wouldn't call it smoke. Fog. So he's not going to be a manager to start 2026. He will manage the Dominican Republic team in the World Baseball Classic. Yeah. But are you surprised that he didn't get one of these, especially after the
I thought he was going to go to the Angels. I thought Angels was going to be the one.
Right. And you just said, hey, work with a team, then they bring you on. Artie was interested, but the owner of the Angels might have offered him a 1-year deal or a game-by-game deal.
Who's also got a new GM this year? That team that Albert played for a long time.
Cardinals?
Bingo.
Yeah, but Yachty wants that job too. And Ollie Marmol might.
No, I know. Listen, I mean, Chaim Bloom, though, is new. Ollie Marmol, I love Ollie Marmol.
Mm-hmm.
But new GM, new front office, new everything. Maybe Albert sits out for a year and says, hey, look what I did for the Dominican in the World Baseball Classic, much like Mark DeRosa does all the time, tooting that thing to try to get a job, right?
Well, he has to sit out now.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying he sits out and he says, oh, well, I really wanted to go to St. Louis the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know, but like I thought he was going to get the Angels job. Everyone was saying that he was going to get the Angels job.
Yeah, and he didn't. Kratz, question for you on Pujols. Do you think that he should spend this season on a major league coaching staff? I don't know if he will. He does some TV work. He's doing the WBC, and it gets complicated. He shouldn't be worried about money, but he'd probably have to give up the $1 million for a $150,000 coaching contract instead. Should be no big deal if the long-term goal is manager. I'm just saying the Angels do have that situation by the balls to some extent. But if you were him and you really want to manage, shouldn't he try to link up with a team this year? It might be too late because most of the coaching staffs have been picked. But your thoughts?
100%. I think he went through you have to interview first. My buddies who have become managers are like, look, the interview process is different. Like, it's long. It's not like, oh, I can't handle it, but it's exhausting because it's just, they put a situation, the lineup, what the record of the team is at the time, and then a situation that happens in the clubhouse, and then, this is going on during the game. How would you handle this? And you have like an hour to figure it out. It's like basically taking tests. Now he's gone through that. To me, whatever reason he didn't get the job, like if it's with the Angels, he didn't get the job because he was like, no, you're still going to pay me my $1 million that I would have gotten, and you're going to pay me like a regular manager. Maybe he isn't that far off of being a manager. If the other teams are like, we're going to go in another direction. It's not me, it's you kind of thing. He needs to work on that kind of stuff. And I, never being a manager, but only talking to my buddies who have managed and are working towards being managers, being on the bench matters so much. It matters to your street cred with players. It matters to how you figure out. Albert's been out of the game for a few years. Things change. You figure out how to deal with the new player. And I think Albert has to learn how to talk to the 20 to 26th man on the roster. Not saying he didn't when he played. I'm just saying superstars, that will always be their hurdle when they go to be a manager.
Some of these hires or candidates like Albert could have a high ceiling, but he also could have a low floor. Craig Stammen being part of the org now for multiple years, knowing the guys like that, gives him a higher floor than Albert Pujols. I think that's part of this. Like, hey, what's the best and worst case scenario here for a team that's contending for a playoff spot? I think that's a factor when they made their decision.
But again, when does this work out? We asked this about the Blake Butera thing. When does this work out? When does a Hall of Famer step in to being a manager without any experience and it work out?
Yeah, not often. Albert has some people very much on his side that think he's going to be great, but nobody made the choice this time around.